10, live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight.
Hello and welcome. I am Al-Makura. Tonight, more rumble over distribution of permanent voter cards. APC leaders allege deliberate ploy to rig 2015 elections. FCT authorities deny neglect of Nyanya bomb explosion victims, say medical care is provided at its own health facilities. Over 500 uncompleted buildings to be demolished in Abuja as agency moves to curb crime and collapse of structures. And former Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev warns that the world is on the brink of a new Cold War. And on business news tonight, the federal government plans to raise 65 billion naira worth of bonds at an auction next week.
Sports news. Ghana Football Association set to name former Chelsea boss Adam Grant as new Black Stars handler.
We begin tonight with a barrage of criticism trailing the third phase of the distribution of permanent voter cards across the country. The exercise is in its second day, but most voters are not quite satisfied with the conduct thus far. A leader of the All Progressives Congress and former governor of Lagos State, Senator Bola Tinubu, alongside the leadership of the party in Lagos State today, accused the Independent National Electoral Commission of plans to disenfranchise the people of the state. Meanwhile, in some other states where the exercise is being conducted, similar situation seems to be playing out. Our political correspondent, Shirin Akimbaloye, reports.
It is not the best of times for the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) as the third phase of the distribution of permanent voter cards has turned a sour tale for the empire. On the second day of the exercise, not quite a good showing in the real assessment, as most voters are yet to see what their voter cards look like. In Lagos, the All Progressives Congress is not taking the development line low. Members of the party have regrouped and the national leader is meeting with them on what they say is a terrible experience based on the assessment of the 11 local government areas monitored in Lagos State.
This exercise was failed, is not acceptable. We reconsider it as a dry run. A rigging exercise practice.
The party is not happy for a number of reasons, and they say they are prepared to take the case to the next level.
We will stand to protect our rights. We will just, for now, urge Nigerians to be patient, particularly our party members, and instruct them on the actions to take in the future. If we have to hit the street in protest, we will let you know.
In Ogun State, just a few kilometers to the nation's commercial hub, the situation is similar. Here, unhappy residents take to the street to drive home their point. The governor of the state, Ibikuli Amosun, driving through the street at a time leads the protesters to the doorstep of the Electoral Commission, and Professor Layo Lude, the man in charge of the Southwest region, is on hand to answer questions on the challenges faced in the exercise.
Because they were there throughout yesterday, they were not collecting their card. I told them that they should not go and raise their card again. When INEC is ready, they should let us know. If we are ready and we know that, INEC is ready for us now, And most of people, I think Rick already made available information to you as to areas where we may not be able to distribute because of logistics. I would want to assure you, nobody is going to be disenfranchised in the state. Every eligible voter is going to get his card. And let me also focus on people that are collecting their cards.
And in the southeastern state of Imo, the governor and his deputy can now smile after they receive their voter cards, yet they feel the exercise needs to be improved upon.
So far so good, yes, but I'm told there are some, the permanent voters card is not available in some areas, and the INEC management has explained to me that they're in the process of bringing the rest of the materials.
And far north in the city of Kano, the situation appears to be calm and slightly well organized. Anxious voters wait to hear their names called as officials coordinate in alphabetical order. It is the last phase of the exercise, but so much controversy generated already. Some are already asking for extension of date. In Lagos, there's been a day extension. As the case is now, no explanation may be acceptable for most of the voters until they take possession of their cards. Shehu Okinale, reporting for Channels Television News.
Also on forthcoming elections, as the suspense over who gets the presidential ticket of the All Progressives Congress continues, some leaders of the party are pondering the option of a consensus candidate to avoid splitting hairs over the issue. At a meeting with one of the presidential aspirants, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, in Lafia, Nasarawa State Governor Tanko Al-Makura urged the former vice president to work with other aspirants to prevent rancor amongst party members ahead of the 2015 polls. Speaking to journalists after the meeting, Alhaji Abubakar on his part said he is open to a genuine consensus arrangement or an open primary, provided a level playing field is guaranteed for all the aspirants.
I would like to call on all the aspirants for the ticket of the presidency in APC to come together, talk to themselves, and see if at the end of it, on your own volition, on your own understanding, you could throw up a candidate that will be a consensus candidate amongst yourselves and amongst we, the team supporters of your aspirations.
I am open to all options. I'm open to all. If, consensus also requires willingness on the part of those involved in consensus. If all the parties are willing, then they can agree to consensus beautifully. If they are not, then the electors will be given the opportunity, to elect their flag bearer. This is also the most democratic of all.
Former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. To security-related stories now, 125 people arrested on suspicion of belonging to the terrorist group Boko Haram have regained their freedom in Borno State, northeast Nigeria. They were freed by the 7th Division of the Nigerian Army today and handed over to the state governor, Kashim Shettima, after being cleared of any involvement in terrorist activity. The cleared suspects, according to military authorities, were said to be among the 254 suspects arrested on September the 23rd during various operations carried out in the southern part of the state, where the Sambisa forest is located. Presenting the suspects to the state governor, the Deputy Director, Army Public Relations Officer, Colonel Sani Usman, said the cleared suspects have been found innocent of any terrorist activity. Earlier in the week, the military released 42 suspects, among which were 3 foreigners from Burkina Faso, Chad, and Cameroon. The Federal Capital Territory Administration has debunked claims of the government's neglect by victims of the Yanya bombing, which occurred on April the 14th this year. The victims of the blast that earlier this month appealed to the federal government to assist them to continue with their medical treatment. According to them, government's response to their plight stopped months ago after the initial response in the first few days of the explosion.
It's been over 6 months since the bomb blast happened in Abuja in April, but the pains and agony seem like yesterday for some of the victims who are still battling with the aftermath.
I need to do my surgery for my ear. This ear, the eardrum burst. I was supposed to do my operation on 17th this month. Now I'm going there empty-handed.
While they have accused government of neglect, the authorities insist that they have continued to pay medical bills for those who patronize its facilities.
We have our hospitals, the general hospitals, we have many Asukuru, Wuse, Matama, that's Nyanya, and so on and so forth. Even though we advise people as much as possible, even if we have primary care, that is in terms of emergency care, outside these hospitals, once we are stabilized, you should come to these hospitals so that these are places where we have our facilities, we have our personnel. We see pain in these places, but at least they can give us some grace period.
Meanwhile, some of the victims also explain why they chose hospitals other than the ones recommended by the government.
General, I was actually not taking care. The leg was decaying. That was why I told them to transfer me to another hospital, but they were delaying.
They told people in the television, in the radio, they have visited bomb blasts, they paid money, they do this. I know they paid for the hospital bill. But even in the hospital, any treatment, any medicine, past 1,000 naira, we bought it.
According to the FCT administration, victims of bombings should take advantage of government provisions, including hospitals and special vocational centers for those who have been named by such incidents. It warns against making themselves available for politicians who may want to score political points.
We're about to face major election, and people should not play into the hand of desperate and ambitious politicians who may want to use people in society to score cheap political points. It should not be done. Maybe they want to do something against the incumbent administration in FCT. Somebody will say, well, go and demonstrate, so that we use it as a campaign chip. It's not good.
The more terrorism drags on, accusations and explanations like this will continue unless terrorists and their acts of terrorism are brought to a halt.
And as the battle against terrorism continues, it is necessary for Nigerians to have the general social consciousness that the country is at war. This is the view of the former Director General of the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies and Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Professor Epifani Azinge. In an interview with our judiciary correspondent, Shola Shoyele, the academic says the war against insurgency has gone beyond being a government issue to being everybody's problem.
Government must be given all the moral support. It is not a matter that should be politicized, because from all indication, Boko Haram knows no party coloration, it knows no ethnic or religious coloration, and it is something that should affect both the young, the old, and even the aged. So to that extent, I feel that we must raise the consciousness of the people to understand, especially for those who were not around during the Civil War, to know that this is even more than a civil war, because you don't know who is fighting you. We may have to start moving troops from other parts of the country that are not affected to the war zone. This is something we must end at the shortest possible time, and hopefully believe that we can still hold and conduct election in those places. We must do everything to support government to achieve that objective of exterminating these forces, recapturing our territorial boundaries, and ensuring that our people live in peace and security.
For more on Professor Azinge's views on this and other issues, please tune in to Law Weekly, showing tomorrow, Sunday, at 1:30 p.m. In part 2, after the break, Governor Shomole says casualization must end in Edo State civil service. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.